George Groves is a member of Team Campbell, as in Luke Campbell. He has been a long-time friend of his. They were on Team GB together when they were amateurs. I think they didn't turn pro around the same time, but they were certainly on Team GB together. They know each other well. Groves was obviously trained by Shane McGuigan in the latter stages of his career, and Luke Campbell is still trained by Shane McGuigan. Campbell has just announced his fight against Vasyl Lomachenko. George Groves has come out in various interviews, including this one here on IFL TV, and said that he has no doubt that his friend and his stablemate, Luke Campbell, will beat Vasyl Lomachenko. And there has been a massive backlash against George Groves for saying this. People saying, oh, what the hell are you talking about, Groves? This is nonsense. How the hell could you say that? People, he's a member of Team Campbell. What do you expect him to say? Oh, no, he's going to get battered. He's not going to say that. Even if he believed it, he ain't going to say it. If you were in his position, would you say it? If a friend of yours, a long-time stablemate, who you've known for, well over 10 years since you were amateurs, was going into the biggest fight of his life, what would you say? Oh, I ain't going to win. You see, upsets are upsets for a reason, people. Upsets are called upsets because most of them don't expect them to happen. Most of us, don't expect them to happen. That's why they're upsets. You got so many geniuses out here acting as though they know every upset that's coming around the corner. No, you don't. You'd be a millionaire by now if you did. How many of you are millionaires? So stop acting as though you know exactly which fights there's going to be upsets in. Stop it. You don't know all the fights that there's going to be an upset. So when it comes to George Groves supporting Luke Campbell and claiming he's going to beat Loma, you get nowhere in life in general, but particularly in boxing, if you don't believe in yourself, if your team don't believe in you. You have to have belief, especially when you're going up against a phenom like Vasyl Lomachenko. If you don't believe you're going to do it, well, you might as well not fight. If your team don't believe in you, well, they might as well leave you. No upset that has ever happened in boxing was able to occur without somebody believing that it could happen. When Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson, my jaw was on the floor. And I know everybody's a genius after the fact and they say, oh, well, Tyson wasn't in shape and this, that, and the other. Yeah, but nobody was picking Douglas before the fight. Regardless of whether you say Tyson wasn't in shape. He was a 42-1 underdog. So where were all the geniuses before the fight who knew that Tyson wasn't in shape and blah, 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 and all this business? There were plenty of fights beforehand where people said Tyson wasn't in shape, but he still got in the ring and did the job. 42-1 underdog, Buster Douglas knocked him out. If he's 42-1, that means there's not a lot of people placing bets on him. Everybody's a genius after the fact, right? Yeah, we all, from time to time, might predict one or two upsets, but most upsets happen and we don't predict them. We expect the other guy to win emphatically. That's the reality. So I say all that to say this. Am I picking Luke Campbell to beat Lomachenko? Hell no. Would I be shocked if Campbell did beat him? Hell yes. But I understand that belief is a requisite of pulling off a massive upset. And so how could I hate George Groves or criticize George Groves or Campbell or Hearn for believing? How could I criticize them for that? How could I be mad at them for that? They're supposed to believe. In fact, I'd be more concerned if they didn't believe. If they were going into the fight kind of like half-hearted and, oh, I'll give it a go. No, that's no good. You have to go in there and believe 1,000,000%. Can't go in there half-hearted. It doesn't matter how tall the order is. You have to believe. Yeah? When Holyfield beat Mike Tyson, he was like a 25-1 underdog. Oh, Tyson's coming out of prison. He was rusty. Holyfield was 34 years old. He was coming off a suspension where they took his boxing license away because they said he had a heart defect. He looked terrible against Michael Moorer. Had his license revoked. Came back, fought Bobby Ches. Didn't look good in that fight. Then went in against Mike Tyson. People were sending him get well soon cards before the fight. I was, completely shocked that Holyfield won that fight. But there was something which Manny Stewart said in and around, or before and after that fight, the Holyfield-Tyson fight. Manny Stewart said that when the fight got made, he called up Don King and he said, Don, you've just made a massive mistake putting Tyson in with Holyfield. And Don King said to him, what the hell are you talking about? Holyfield's washed up. This is an easy fight for Mike. You guys go look up the interview. Do your due diligence. Look it up on Google. So, yeah, Manny said, no, you made a massive mistake because Holyfield has been obsessed with Mike Tyson for years. I mean, you don't understand. This guy is obsessed with Mike Tyson. When Manny Stewart trained Holyfield for the Riddick Bowe rematch, Stewart said that instead of Holyfield coming in to the gym every day talking about Riddick Bowe, he hardly even mentioned Riddick Bowe for the entirety of the camp. And all Holyfield was banging on about in training camp for the Riddick Bowe rematch, the biggest fight of his life, all he was talking about through the entirety of training camp was Mike Tyson. This is what Manny Stewart said. He said it was incredible that Holyfield was just obsessed with Mike Tyson and wasn't even talking about Riddick Bowe. And Manny Stewart said that Holyfield was extremely envious of all the publicity and media and public adulation that Tyson was getting when he was going into that Bowe rematch. And Tyson was in prison at the time. So here's this guy in prison who's getting more love from the media and the fans than you. When you're, putting in all this work, blood, sweat, and tears, fighting this big rematch against the unbeaten Riddick Bowe. This really upset Holyfield and it was burning him inside. So he was obsessed with Mike Tyson long before they fought. In fact, Holyfield, this obsession that Holyfield's had with Mike Tyson probably goes back to when they were amateurs. And they actually sparred during the Olympic trials. And Holyfield held his own in sparring, even though at the time he was like 25 pounds lighter than Mike Tyson or more. But apparently held his own. So he's been obsessed with Tyson for years, and he was studying Tyson for years. And again, I say all that to say this. Luke Campbell was amateur the same time Vasyl Lomachenko was. He was moving in the very same circles as Vasyl Lomachenko as an amateur. They say that Luke Campbell has been studying Lomachenko since they were amateurs. So I'm not going to discount that as being, potentially significant. Could be. But just to reiterate, I am not picking Luke Campbell to win. Not at all. I would be shocked if he beat Lomachenko. I wouldn't be shocked if he gave Lomachenko one of his most competitive fights to date. That wouldn't shock me. Because again, Campbell, very tall. If he gets behind a jab doesn't let Lomachenko get close. Could make it awkward for him. Luke Campbell, obviously, an Olympian himself. And I think Campbell does better against boxers rather than people who fight, although Vasyl Lomachenko is not your typical boxer because he puts a hell of a lot of pressure and there's angles and all kinds of stuff. But I personally think that you need to try and make it as awkward as possible for Lomachenko to hit you. So you want to stay tall if you're a tall guy. Don't come down to his level and make it easier for the little short guy with the short arms to get to you. And he's still going to be able to get to you even if you stay up tall, all right? Because he's very quick with his feet, quick with his hands. He can come in and move his head and still get shots off. But it makes it more awkward for him because he's so much shorter. He will have to lunge from time to time, and that will leave opportunities for you to get your own shots off. So if Campbell was to go in there and give Lomachenko one of his toughest fights to date, that wouldn't shock me. A win would shock me, but a tough fight wouldn't shock me. A tough fight that still has a conclusive ending, by the way. You know, a tough fight where Lomachenko still wins comfortably on the cards by at least, you know, at least 3-4 rounds, or maybe even stops Luke Campbell. That's what I'd be expecting, and that's the best I'd really expect for him. But again, we're talking about my opinion. We're talking about my estimation. We're talking about, you know, going over theoretical scenarios. None of this means anything in the ring. In the ring is where the truth is revealed. So we'll find out whether Luke Campbell can spring one of the greatest upsets in recent boxing history by beating Vasyl Lomachenko. We'll find out. I don't think he will. But as I say, if he's been studying this man for a long time and he uses his height and reach to the best of his ability and starts off with the principle of avoid getting hit first and then build your offense off, you know, on top of that foundation, then maybe he can shock the world. He'd certainly shock me. But the main point of this video is, why are people so upset with George Groves? He's only saying what he's supposed to say. If he wants Luke Campbell to win, then it is important, not necessarily essential, but it's important that he believes he can win. You see, one of the reasons why there are successful fighters like George Groves, like Lomachenko, like, you know, name them. One of the reasons why they're successful as fighters and we as boxing fans are not in their position, a lot of the time is because they believe in themselves more than the average Joe Blow like me and you. They believe in their ability more. They believe in their ability to the point where people around them, friends and family, people on the internet, think they're deluded. It's like Chris Eubank Sr. always says, to be a fighter, you can't be ordinary in terms of your mentality and your behavior. You have to be unusual. You have to have an unusual level of self-belief to be a top fighter. You know, I'm not just talking about being some run-of-the-mill fighter. Yeah, I had some amateur fights. Some of you guys might have fought in the amateurs, maybe even some pros out there. But, you know, we're just the run-of-the-mill guys. If you're talking about the guys who make it to the top, it's not just about physical ability. A lot of guys have physical ability. I had very good physical ability as a fighter. You need more than that. So George Groves believing in Luke Campbell, coming out saying the stuff he's saying, even if he doesn't believe it deep down, he has to come out and make out as though he believes it. He has to create an environment of positivity, an environment of belief within that Luke Campbell team in camp. They need to do that. So don't get angry at the guy for doing it. Don't start slagging him off for doing it. He's supposed to do that. That's how upsets happen. When a team comes together and they believe. It doesn't matter if the whole world thinks they're going to get wiped out. They believe. You know, you need to believe. You have to. It's not all about the technical side of things. You also have to have the belief, the mental side of things, even the spiritual side of things checked. Now, it's a very tall order, obviously, because Vasyl Lomachenko is a phenomenal fighter. Also, this fight being in the UK, normally you would say that's home advantage for Luke Campbell. But in this instance, I don't know whether it is. Because let's be real here. Luke Campbell could not sell out a large arena in the UK. Making, you know, if he was to fight Devin Haney, or if he was to fight, you know, any other champion in his weight class, he's not going to sell out a major arena in the UK. He's only selling out a major arena in the UK, and it looks like it will sell out, because he's fighting Vasyl Lomachenko. This might sound harsh, but I think it's true. The majority of people, British people, coming out to watch this fight are coming there because of Lomachenko. I mean, Lomachenko's not going to get booed. It might be one or two boos, you know, people who come down from Hull, where Luke Campbell's from, his hometown, but I don't think there's going to be that many boos for Lomachenko. There's going to be a lot of cheers. So I don't really think it's going to be like fighting away from home for Lomachenko, to be honest. And look, he's based in the United States anyway. He's not from the United States. He's from the Ukraine. So he used to being on the road. And of course, going back to his amateur career where he had nearly 400 fights and he only lost one. He fought all over the world, in every country imaginable, Lomachenko. So he's used to being on the road. No problem. Different time zones, different cultures, different energy. No problem. He's done all that. And I know it was a long time ago since he fought amateur, but again, he did it so extensively, it's going to feel like familiar ground to him. You know, traveling to a different country, being in a different arena. It's going to feel familiar. He's done it hundreds of times before, literally. So, yeah, you wouldn't imagine that the fight being in the UK is really going to help Luke Campbell much, unless there's going to be some funny business on the cards or funny business with the referee. I seriously doubt it, though, because, again, Vasyl Lomachenko is so massively respected by British boxing fans. And in my view, maybe 50% or more of the crowd will be there to support Lomachenko. Because of that, you know, Eddie Hearn knows that. Eddie Hearn knows how great Lomachenko is. I seriously doubt the British boxing establishment are going to disrespect one of the greatest fighters of modern times by having some funny business going on the scorecards or with the referee. I could be wrong, but I seriously doubt it. I'm sure there'll be a fair shake. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the announcement of Vasyl Lomachenko versus Luke Campbell. Don't be mad at Campbell's team for saying that they believe he's going to win. Don't be mad at him for that. They're supposed to say that. They have to say that. They need to say that. Yeah, I'm not expecting Campbell to do it, but I wish him the best of luck. Yeah, and I understand the process that him and his team have to go through from a technical point of view and from a psychological point of view to give themselves the best chance of victory. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And hey, at the end of the day, Lomachenko has lost before, right? Salido beat him. I know it was a long time ago, second pro fight and all that, and Salido was very dirty. But, you know, he did lose. It's a 12-round fight. I know he has this insane record as an amateur of nearly 400 fights with one loss, which, I mean, I don't even know how that's possible. I mean, this guy must be superhuman. I mean, you've only got 3 rounds in amateur fights. All kinds of things can happen, you know. Only 3 rounds to get the job done. A guy could get on his bike, move around, and land a couple more shots extra than you, and there you go, he's got the decision. Whereas if it was a 12-round fight as a pro, you might be able to, you know, wear him down, get him out of there. But over 3 rounds, to only have 1 loss in nearly 400 fights, that is absolutely incredible. I can't stress enough how incredible that is. So, yeah, as incredible as that is, he still lost the fight against Salido in the second pro fight, which is a 12-rounder, not a 3-rounder, you know? So upsets happen. I'm not anticipating one here, but you never know. Let me know what you guys feel in the comment section below. It's happening them out.